Hello, everyone. This is Sonia Cato Howard, and I want to welcome you to E Women. We are here on Facebook Live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and then Kimmy, my business partner, is on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. And then every first and third Tuesday of the month, we have E Women Meetup, which is online, and you can join from anywhere to listen to us. And we want to encourage you all to join us. I want to talk about tonight, what have you been saved from? You know, a lot of us have been saved from bad decisions that we have made, things that we have done to ourselves, and God has literally had to come in and save our lives. You know, it was a near miss. It was something that we really needed to do. You know, things like eating too much, drinking too much, doing too many drugs, sex, smoking. It's bad habits that we know that are bad for us. We know the consequences of them, and yet we still don't stop. We see people who have actually fallen over the edge, who have actually died from these things, and we continue to do it. We're actually living on the edge. We sometimes think it's not going to happen to us. A lot of us think, oh, it's not going to happen to us. And sometimes, you know, some of us are scared, you know, of the consequences of what's going to happen because we know what could happen to us. And then you always say that I'm going to quit one day, but one day never comes. What is it that's your habit? What is it, the habit that you need to stop, right? I talked about habits before, but tonight I want to talk about the habits that you know are gonna oh Lord, I have got to get this together. Habits that we know that are going to end our lives. I'm sorry. Habits that we know that are going to habits that we know that are going to end our lives. There are things that we need to stop. You know, I was watching an intervention. It's a show where people have to actually get their families to drag them into court, and to get help. These people can't stop themselves. They can't stop. They don't know how to stop. And so they have to get someone else to bring them in. And a lot of the people that I watched on the show was saying that they looked in the mirror and they don't know how they got to that point where they can't stop. So we don't want to get to the point where we can't stop. We don't want to get to the point where our family have to drag us into intervention. You know, some of us may not have this problem, but you may know somebody else who have this problem, and hopefully this message will help tonight. You know, I like to tell stories. I have a story. It's not necessarily, you know, someone else may think that it's not a life or death. To me, it was a life or death situation. And you've heard me talk about when I had my abortion, and when I had my abortion, I lost a lot of weight and I was thin for the first time in my life. And so I really felt really good. And then we lived in an all adult community. So you had men that were, you know, looking at me and giving me compliments and yelling at me. And I've always had big boobs and a butt. So these guys were giving me attention, and for the first time, I, you know, felt pretty. So that started the process of me sleeping around. And then I joined the Navy and I slept around. And then I married the first guy that asked me to marry him. And then as soon as that divorce was over, I started sleeping around. You know, so now I was living in I was in school. I was living in the projects, and the type of guys that were around me were guys who were doing drugs, guys who were selling drugs, guys who were living a life of crime. And so these were the guys that I was sleeping around with. And so I slept with this guy, and shortly after I found out that he had been doing drugs. And I also found out later that I guess he was potentially sleeping with guys. So I guess, sometimes when people need drugs, they'll do anything to get the drugs. So this just terrified me. And by the way, back when I was in high school, which was the 80s and then the 90s when I got out of the Navy, we didn't use condoms. We just made sure we didn't get pregnant. We got on birth control, but we didn't use condoms like that. I mean, at the time we thought that AIDS come from people who were either had AIDS or people who were either gay or either people who were doing drugs. We didn't know that everybody could get AIDS. So this was not the lifestyle that people lived. You just made sure you didn't get pregnant and you slept around. I mean, you had diseases, but, not the kind that were killing you. So once I found out about this guy, of course I broke up with him, but I was terrified. I was just praying and crying like, Lord, please don't let me die. Please do not let me die. I got somebody who's potentially sleeping with guys, plus he's doing drugs. So I got 2 strikes against me, so Lord, please don't let me die from this. Like, I don't know what I need to do, but I am begging you to just save my life this time. And, I'm going to get on the straight and narrow. And, that was my prayer. I prayed to God. And then the next guy that asked me to marry him, I married him. And then after that marriage, I started living a life of celibacy because, the tendencies that I've had in the past. You got to know what your tendencies are. What is it that you struggle with? What is it that that you need help with? What's your habit? So I don't know what your habit is, but what have God had to rescue you from? I'm sure He done rescued you from something. And when I say rescue you, I'm talking about what have you almost died from because of something stupid that you were doing. Are you the person that's out there sleeping with everybody? I mean, I know how ladies, you'll sleep with, maybe you'll date him for 3 months, or maybe you'll sleep with him. And then once you sleep with him, you're with him for 3 months, you feel like, okay, you good. So y'all had the HIV test. So now it's okay. You can stop using condoms, but the truth is that in this society, everybody is cheating on everybody. Everybody has multiple relationships, multiple people that they're sleeping with. And the truth is, unless you're taking the test every single time before you sleep with that person, you're putting your life at risk. Are you that person that's out there that's sleeping around and you're not? All you got to do is look all around and see all the pregnant people that are not married to show you all the people who are constantly sleeping around unprotected, right? So it's still going on today. So are you that person that's sleeping around without protection? Going from person to person. Is that your habit? Is that the thing that you need to stop? People who have died. You've heard of people who died from HIV, and yet you're still doing it. You're still taking a chance. You're still trusting that guy or that girl. Are you, maybe your problem is smoking. You're the person that smoke, you have to smoke every day. You have to smoke every break. You have to smoke. I mean, you take so many breaks that you take more breaks than you do working. Okay. So you smoke all the time. You got to have smoke after sex, smoke after meal, everything, right? What smoking does. You've seen the commercials. They got 1 million commercials out about people with the holes in their throats. People who they show you what they look like after they're on their last leg. People who died from lung cancer. You've heard of people who have died from smoking and cancer, but yet you won't put the cigarette down. You won't get the help that you need. Maybe your problem is drugs. Like in that show with Intervention, you don't want to get to the point where your family has to drag you down, where you don't even know how you got to that point, right? You know what drugs is doing to your relationships, to your family. Can't nobody even trust you. You know what it's doing. Maybe you're a working addict and you go to work every day, but you know what you do as soon as you get some extra money. At this point, first of all, the people that have a really bad problem, like on the Intervention, that show, they're not watching because those people are doing drugs. They wake up, they do drugs, they go to sleep. They wake up, they do drugs, they go to sleep. That's the habit that they're living. So if you're at a point where you can hear this message, you're not to that point. So it's not too late. So what does it take? You have had your near misses where you know that it could have been them. You could have died. You know people who have overdosed, right? You don't want to get to that point. What does it take for you to decide that, okay, enough is enough? This habit, I don't want it to destroy my life. Maybe your problem is drinking. You got to drink all the time. You got to drink at the football game. You got to drink at every party. You got alcohol in the refrigerator. You got to have a drink every evening before you lay down. You know you got a problem. You got a problem. And you need to stop drinking. You got family members who have died from cirrhosis of the liver, who drunk themselves to death, and yet you keep drinking. You got family members who are alcoholic. You know how you act when you drink. You know what you do. You know that it's messing up relationships, but you won't stop drinking. Let's see what's left. We got drinking, eating. We got to talk about eating. You was 100 pounds overweight. Then you was 200. Then you was 300. Then you was 400. You buy the wrong food. It's always in the refrigerator. You always pick up the wrong thing. You won't try diets. You've given up. You're not even trying anymore. And eating is your problem. Eating is a thing that you know what it's doing to your body. You know it's covering up your organs, your heart. It's making life hard for you. You know what you need to do. I mean, this is about life or death. That's what this is about. This is about making a decision and choosing to live and trying, doing something than what you've been doing. We are living on the edge of our lives, right? What is your life going to look like in 5 years? In 5 years, if you keep doing what you're doing, what is it going to look like in 5 years? In 10 years, if you are here, right? Is you going to have bad health? Or you may not even be here at all. How many warnings do you need? How many times do God have to save your life, spare your life because of this habit that you have? This habit that is controlling your life. For me, my struggle is eating. That is my struggle. I'm plump. I've been plump for a minute, but even with that, I am trying. I'm always, either raw or either vegetarian. And for the most part, my records always come back. My blood work, everything always comes back good. I'm not making excuses. I always need to exercise. I'm getting older. I'm turning 50 this year. So I have got to do this. The people that are overeating, you can't move. It hurt to roll over. It hurt to get up. It hurt to walk. Everything hurt. So you know what you need to do. If I didn't mention your habit, then what I want to say is that you know what it is. You know what it is that you need to stop doing. You know what the consequences are. And you know what you need to know. You know that you need to do it right now. The story with the intervention, that show, we don't want to get to that point, right? We don't ever want to get to that point. It's time to get it together. It's time to stop getting saved. In fact, you don't even know if that was your last save. You don't know. We don't know. Life is not promised to you. I do want to encourage you to make a decision and start, and everything starts with prayer. That day I prayed to God. I want to tell you, a couple of years I was on Facebook and I saw that person had died. That person had died from AIDS. And it was like God reminded me that that's where I was. That's where I was, sleeping with people unprotected. I could have died. That person died from AIDS. One of the things I neglected to mention is that, Black African American women, we are in the high numbers of getting HIV positive, not only from undercover brothers, right? Not only from that, but just period. Everybody cheating on everybody. Everybody's sleeping around. And all you got to do is get on YouTube and you'll see people, gay guys who talk about the guys who are undercover, who sleep with them without protection and then go straight to the woman without protection, right? So that's another whole topic. I'm saying to you, if that's your problem, get it together, work it out. I want to encourage everyone that you can do this. Start with prayer. That's all it takes sometimes, is at first just praying out to God for him to change you. For me, when I prayed out to God, I changed my life after that. And that was when my problem was sex. I changed my life after that. And so I want to encourage you. I believe and I know that you can do it. As always, thanks for watching. Oh, I want to mention one thing. I had a naysayer on the last week's message who was saying that I always talk about negative things. You know, there are a lot of people who talk about positive messages. I like to talk about the things that we need to work on. And those aren't always happy topics. Those are the hard topics that other people are not talking about. So I'm encouraging you to please get help. Please share me, share my post and repost it, and join us again. Join Kimmy tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Thanks again for watching.